Hello and welcome back to Lyre. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Lyle basically was saying to himself that he misses Richter and that he wishes that he could do something for him, but, he can't. He can't even help with the investigation because he was too close to Richter, and pretty much everyone knows it at this point. It's all a bunch of gossip and rumors, but, everyone knows that Lyle and Richter were pretty close. Even though it was technically, Lyle's job to watch over Richter or be like Richter's shadow, but I guess everybody is mistaking that for being romantically involved, even though they were romantically involved. But anyways, also the coronation happened, in which the little twerp Adrius was crowned king, and nothing ever bad happens when a little boy is crowned a king. I'm pretty sure everything's gonna go fine. Also, he did not look very happy to be crowned king, either because he's too young and he knows that it's probably going to cause some problems, or because of the fact that his father died in order for that to happen. Not only that, but the fact that he's a child and his father just died. So yeah. But anyways, well, let's continue and see what happens. Part 2. Adrius. The rest of the day moves by dreadfully slow. Adrius sits on his father's throne, stiff and uncomfortable. He knows that he belongs here, but it doesn't feel right. It's been his destiny since he was born, but achieving it in this way was not how he wanted it. He looks around the room, his eyes dancing around at the people that fill it. Leaves softly fall down from the overgrown trees above to land among the crowd. Some of them he recognizes from the village. Business owners and shopkeepers. Some of them are wealthy traders. Everyone else is just the noble lords and ladies from the rest of Lyre. Their extravagant designs on their clothes contrast the muted color scheme that seems to be so popular with this part of the land. That crafty feline from Dryers sticks out like a sore thumb amongst the crowd in his bright green coat. It's not hard to, though. Almost more than half of the room is empty by now. Nobles come up to the throne one by one and wish him a long and prosperous rule, shaking his hand and bowing. He'd say he'd enjoy this little bit of social interaction, but right now, that's the last thing he wants. The amount of emotions he's been keeping bottled up these past 2 days has been taking a toll on him. Right now, he just wishes that he could be alone. To his right is Elizabeth. She's leaning against one of the walls, arms down to her sides, with a dull expression upon her face. Even Adrius could never understand why she always looked so bored with everything. She notices him glancing in her direction and approaches. Is something wrong? Isn't it obvious? Adrius. She somehow manages to throw him a look of both understanding and irritation at the same time. I apologize. No, it's okay. I know you've been through a lot lately. It's not that. I'm just tired of being surrounded by all of these people. He leans towards her. Forgive me, but I'm not in the best state of mind right now. And that's okay. I understand how these things can be a bit emotionally draining. If you want, I can take over from here. Almost everyone is gone by now, and the after party will start in a bit. It's best that you go and prepare for that. That's true. He adjusts the crown on his head. It was professionally fitted for him, but it's still a bit too big. I suppose I could let you take over. But I don't think there's really much to do from here. If I were to stay, it would probably just be me sitting here watching as everyone talks with each other. He stands from his throne and rests his hand on his armrest. I know that your position as war minister is being tested right now. The future isn't looking too bright, but in order to achieve my dream, we'll need to play it smart. Of course. I'll offer my advice wherever I can. Sometimes Adrius wonders why his father even had an advisor. To him, it seems like he treated everyone like a consult. Your advice is welcomed. At least, I have someone older than myself for an advisor. Yes, I suppose. That is something that always bothered me about father. What's that? I mean, no offense by this, but why did he choose you as an advisor? Given that it's usually standard to have someone much older than oneself advise you on these matters? She at first seems confused, but then equips that smirk she always has. Your father never saw it that way. He once told me that wisdom and age aren't everything. He valued the youth of our generation. Said that the outlook on life and untainted experiences were what this world needed in order to achieve a brighter future. All that along with the king who chooses to listen to the right people. Adrius taps a leaf on the ground with his hoof while listening to Elizabeth. She leans forward, looking into his eyes with her hands behind her back, as if to get his attention. He believed that advice could be found anywhere. Trust me, growing up, he had plenty of old and wise men and women teaching him everything he knew. But as he got older, he searched for a different point of view. Choosing people he trusted to lead a good example, whether young or old. As she says this, Adrius glares out into the crowd and spots Lyre. He's talking with another wolf, a local baker from the looks of it. They finish their conversation and Lyre heads out into the hall. Adrius steps away from the throne, still looking at Lyre. Not everyone has. Adrius, please don't. I want to talk with him. He snaps his finger, signaling the two guards standing by his side to follow him. They quickly rise from their slumped-over positions and follow behind him. Adrius walks down the steps and heads straight down the long green carpet, people stepping out of his way and bowing. He pays them no attention, his eyes trained on the bastard as if he had tunnel vision. Ever since that night, he's been wanting to confront him alone. Lyle's been sulking about ever since, as if it was his father that was murdered. Oh yes, he must be so conflicted. Adrius exits the throne room and turns the corner, looking down the hall. He spots Lyre moseying down the corridor. His tail is swishing left to right in an almost rhythmic way, causing his cape to flutter side by side. He's not going in the direction of his room, though. Dog! He slumps his shoulders and turns around slowly with a look of annoyance. King Adrius. How many times must I beg you not to call me that? That's what dogs do, though, right? They beg? The guards stand behind Adrius now, their faces expressionless and their gazes straight ahead. I suppose. Anyway, what do you want? He says this with a tone of indignation. Adrius fiddles with his shoulder cape as he speaks. Oh, it's nothing. I just wanted to speak with you about everything that's happened personally. These past few days have been rather busy. Lyre straightens himself out a bit. Yes, they have. I'm really sorry about what happened. To lose one's father is truly a terrible thing. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Adrius grips his cape a bit tighter in his fist. He's been hearing several different variations of that phrase all week. None of them have felt genuine except for his, which irks him the most. Yes, thank you for your kind words. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. Lyre slumps down a bit more. His shoulders are now as low as they can be. Oh. Yes, I'm sure that you saw this coming, but I wanted to talk to you about your assignment. Guarding the traitor and all that. He jumps at his statement. He didn't do it. Yes, I know that you believe with all of your heart that he wasn't the one to do it. But can't you see that he's lying to you? Lyre is silent, glaring at him with those wolven eyes. He wouldn't lie to me. Really? How do you know that? He goes to speak, hesitates, then continues. Because I know him. Better than you, at least. Oh, of course. Adrius rolls his eyes at this notion. You silly dog. I barely know him and I'm assuming the worst about him with strong evidence. You've only known him for, let's be generous, say a month? And yet you act like you know him enough to assume that he's perfectly innocent. Those two don't really seem comparable, do they? Lyle's lip quivers a bit before making an irritated expression. He quickly turns around and begins to walk in the opposite direction. I've had enough of this conversation. It's been fun, but You're going to visit with him right now, aren't you? He staggers a bit with his footsteps and turns around while still walking. No, I'm actually just... You love him, don't you? Lyre then stops in his tracks completely. After all he's done? He stands there with his mouth agape, clearly thinking of how to respond. Adrius enjoys the way that people have to tread on glass while speaking with him. One little slip-up and there'll be putty in his hands. Finally, he speaks. I don't really know what you're talking about. Oh, but you do. I can see it in those big eyes of yours. Adrius steps forward with his hands behind his back, leaning a bit. Are you sure he's not just leading you on? If I recall, it's happened before in the past. Lyre visibly clenches his fist. That was different. Adrius crosses his arms over his chest and nods. Yes, of course. Only you would know. Richter is different. Ah, so you do love him. Lyre turns to walk away. Really, I must be. Tell me, did you fall head over heels for him before, or after he fucked you? Shut up, Adrius! Adrius doesn't move from his spot, but the two guards behind him flinch a little as Lyre lets his emotions get the better of him. I'm going to pretend that was a question and not a statement. For your sake. Lyre realizes what he just did and backs down, his tail tucked between his legs. I'm sorry, Don't apologize, you fool. I'm going to make one thing perfectly clear. Do you understand? You're not to visit him anymore. I'm sorry? Richter. I don't want you seeing him. I can't have your emotions interfering with this trial. You need to understand what's at stake here, Lyre. I understand what's at stake here. You need to understand that something crazy is going on. He didn't kill Raynar, and whoever did do it is probably still lurking around. And they might be out for your head. Adrius holds up a hand, not wanting to hear any more of this nonsense. That may be so, but this is the safest option right now. I'm giving you an order, Lyre. If I catch you in the dungeon again, I'll have you punished. With that, Lyre backs away with a solemn expression on his face. His tail is limp between his legs. As you wish. He turns and sulks away. Good dog. I'll tell him you said hi. Adrius throws his cape to the side and turns in the other direction. Come. The guards behind him quickly turn and follow him, trying to keep up with his fast pace as he walks down the corridor. Adrius isn't even mad at Lyre. Lyle's loyalties to this kingdom are far too strong for him to break faith. But he can't let his emotions influence this trial. Descending the staircase, he reaches the bottom and turns around the corner. More stairs lead him down into the depths of the castle. It becomes increasingly more chilly with each step he takes. The floor is damp and cold along with the walls. Finally, they reach the bottom, a long hallway with cells lining the left side. It smells like spring water. There's a guard posted at the entrance. His eyes are tired and his body is slumped against the wall. He sees Adrius and instantly straightens up. Stay! The guards behind Adrius stand by the door to the stairwell as he continues through the tunnel. He always hated it down here. He came down here once to play as a child and let his imagination get the better of him. For the next couple of years, he was deathly afraid of those dungeons. Playing in the gardens was much more preferable. His mother enjoyed chasing him through the bushes and would even help him climb trees. She always had a few gowns that were covered in grass stains. Eventually, those just became her gardening clothes. Why is he remembering this now? He's been unintentionally thinking of childhood memories a lot lately. Given current events, it would make sense that they constantly try to breach the walls of his mind. He can't let those memories get to him, though. Not now. For what it's worth, he doesn't have a single worry when it comes to ruling. Whatever happens will happen, but as long as it's within his control, he'll prevail. He has to. As long as he keeps pushing through, no matter the struggle, he'll reach that goal. The hall stretches out into a dim horizon, almost bending. Each cell he passes, he looks inside to try and spot him. And with each empty cell, he grows more and more concerned that he somehow escaped. That would be impossible. And stupid. After a few minutes, he reaches his last cell and looks inside. At first, he half expected it to be empty. But this was not the case. There he is. He's just sitting there on the dirty floor, slouching with his back against the wall. His eyes are distant and far away as he stares off into the empty space. It's almost like he's looking at nothing. It's only been a few days. He can't have gone insane already. Along with all of this, he isn't decently dressed. All he's wearing right now is his undershirt, trousers, and a pair of socks. Already lost it, have we? Upon hearing his voice, Ritcher turns and looks at Adrius. His eyes are sullen and his face lacks almost all emotion. The pupils are a deep shade of purple, which causes Adrius a moment of confusion. He shrugs this off, having never paid attention to his eye color before. He wonders if that's normal for humans. Not yet. He shifts his legs slightly, adjusting himself. I imagine that upsets you. Not really. It doesn't make me feel anything. Just knowing you're down here is the only assurance I need. Well, it's been fun talking with you then. Nice crown. He goes back to staring at the floor. Adrius is finding it harder and harder to keep his cool. His anger has reached its boiling point. If you think I'm going to be dismissed by someone sitting in a cell, then you truly have gone mad. Ritcher sighs, drumming his fingers on his leg. I know why you came down here. You're looking in the wrong place, though. I didn't do it. Of course you didn't. He says this in a sarcastic tone. Ritcher, I didn't come all the way down here to debate whether you did it or not. I don't need to. Then why did you come down here? What more do you want from me? What more can you do to me? Nothing really. Only justice can get me what I want. Your nobility, as fake as it is, grants you a little bit of safety down here. Not to mention, if we don't go about this right, it could start a war. Punishing you before the trial would cause problems. But you already know that. I just wanted to make sure you're suffering. Ritcher smirks for just a second before bringing his face back to his original expression. He says something under his breath. No, I don't think I can say that. What was that? Nothing. Just talking to myself. Okay. Oh, I should mention this before I forget. Your manservant won't be seeing you anymore. Ritcher looks up, his attention being pulled in Adrius' direction as if it were tugged on a rope. What? Yes, I've forbidden him from coming down to comfort you during your stay here. Ritcher glares at him with a look of confusion. Manservant? Comfort me? What are you talking about? There's no need to hide it. Everyone knows about your scandalous relationship. Ritcher lets out a little sigh of defeat. That's not surprising. I can't say I didn't see this coming. Honestly, I understand wanting to make as many friends as possible as a foreign political figure, but don't you think this is taking it a little bit too far? Adrius whispers this at him in a mocking tone, and Ritcher slumps more into the wall. Shut up. At first, Adrius is taken aback by this miniature outburst, but he quickly regains control. That's no way to talk to a king, is it? Then again, you wouldn't know much about showing respect to kings. Says the one who constantly disrespects his father at every turn. Adrius shrugs this comment off, knowing it isn't true. He runs his hand along one of the cell bars, staring daggers at Ritcher. You think we're the same, don't you? What? You believe that we are similar. Comparable. No. We're very different. The difference between the two of us is simple, but I'll dumb it down for you. Get on with it. You've played chess, right? I assume you do. It's a common strategic game in Erin. If you're going to make a chess analogy in front of me, it better be good. Ah, who am I kidding? Even if it's bad, I'll still get amusement out of it. Quiet! As I was saying, the difference between the two of us is that you see this as a game. To you, it's all a board of pieces to be moved, altered, and shifted. Pawns to be played, such as our dear friend Lyle. Lyle's a knight. You know, the horsey piece? And kings to be checked. Adrius interrupts him to continue his comparison. For you, the game can be shelved. You and the fools that you get to follow you with tails wagging walk away from all of this. And even if you lose, he gestures to the cell Richter is currently sitting in, it won't matter in the end. It won't be remembered. You won't be remembered. Richter stares into his eyes with curiosity. I never had that option. If I lose, if my piece is on the board is checked, then I will be forever remembered for it. If I fail, nobody will forget it. Adrius backs away to leave and looks at Richter. I hope you take solace in that. Adrius turns on his hoof and strides away. Before he can be out of earshot, however, Richter approaches the door and retorts. And what if I was never even your opponent? Adrius turns back around in the direction of the cell. Then the game is truly lost. With that, he continues down the long tunnel. Once he reaches the beginning, he turns to the guards standing at the entrance. There will be no further visits from Sir Reed. This is an order that needs to be relayed to the rest of the guards stationed down here. Am I clear? The guard salutes in response. Good. Adrius turns to the guards standing by the stairs. He walks past them, snapping his fingers. The guards follow behind him, their clattering armor echoing throughout the tunnel, until all that is left is silence. Part 3. Richter. Standing by the cell door, I wait to hear until Adrius is out of earshot. I hear him mumble something about Lyle to one of the guards. He's really doing it. Damn it. I was trying my hardest to keep my cool while he was down here. Especially since he caught me while I was in the mind's eye. I reach down, grabbing clumps of straw in my fists and proceed to throw them to the side in a fit of rage. I get on my knees and bury my face in my hands, hunching over and grimacing into my palms. Knowing I would still get to see Lyle while I'm down here was the only thing keeping me going. That and trying to figure out this mess. Throwing a tantrum won't solve anything. Now all that I have is this incessant voice in my head. It still sounds like they're talking to me through a wall, but it's getting easier. It certainly makes me feel better. I whisper this under my breath. For a time. If it makes you feel any better, I am sorry that this happened to you. Oh please, you saw it coming. You know everything that's going to happen. Not really. It's a bit more complicated than that. I stand up and walk over to my bed, sitting down on its hard surface. I wish I could warn you about these things. Really, I do. Guiding my avatars is like taking care of a plant. A very annoying and needy plant. They constantly require things, and if I give them something wrong, they die. That's reassuring. I understand that you miss him, but I cannot let this sway your resolve. I know, I won't let it. I just wish I didn't have to be away from him. He's practically the only person I have left to talk to. Besides you, of course. I am well aware. I lay down on my back, staring at the cracked ceiling. Do you feel as if you've grown dependent on him? No. It's nothing like that. It's not like I need him or anything. It's just... Well, shouldn't you know? You've been watching this whole time. You know how I feel about him. There's no response at first. Do you love him? Of course. No. This isn't an interrogation. I don't doubt you. I'm asking you right here, right now. Their voice becomes a little bit more clear. Do you love him? I stare at the ceiling and wait before answering. They can probably read my thoughts or something and know exactly what I'm going to say. It seems impossible. Even irrationally from an outside perspective, but yes. I love him. Good. Use that. You can't let these things stop you or get in your way. I sit up from my resting position. You're right. I can't let this stop me. I just hope that Lyle is doing alright. Do you know if he's okay? There's no response. Damn, you're good. Please, I've been doing this for countless years. I learn from my mistakes. And if you're going to get out of this, you're going to have to do the same. But I'm getting better. I've been practicing using the mind's eye to see into the past for a couple of days. I'm getting a little bit better at it, able to see different events here and there. But nothing specific. And it's all so far back that it has almost no relevance. You're not even close. Seeing into the past is one thing, but seeing something that's so recently happened, that is a monumental task. Then I'll keep working at it. Good. I sit down on the floor and close my eyes, getting ready to enter the mind's eye again. Unfortunately, time in the real world does pass if I'm just having visions. Time only stands still outside when I enter the realm of the mind's eye. It's something like a sanctuary. I don't really have anything specific in mind. Right now, I just want to practice. I just need to focus, like Tigrin told me to. It takes a moment, but soon I feel as if I'm walking on air. Then the weightlessness feeling leaves my body, and I now feel as if I'm walking on solid ground. It's soft though. Grass? Suddenly, I feel warmth and my eyes are opened to a completely different place. The body I'm living in right now feels different from Raynar's. But it also feels the same. The scenery is definitely familiar though. There's no mistaking that this is the castle gardens. Some of the plants are different from what I personally remember, but everything else for the most part is the same. It feels like a warm summer day, but the breeze is strong. Birds take refuge in the trees and chirp to their heart's content. Whoever this is, they seem to be looking around a lot. It's as if they're searching for something. It's not a frantic search though. At one point, my vision is lowered and I can see the rest of their body. It's a female's body, which throws me off at first, but for some reason, it doesn't feel strange. One would think that this scenario would be weird, but I don't feel anything strange. It's as if I've lived in this body my whole life. I found that after a while, it starts to feel that way. The more times I've done this, the more I start to feel at home. I take my mind off to the philosophy of the situation and instead try to wrap my head around who she is. She's wearing an emerald green dress made of light cloth. It reaches the ground in the back, but it's lifted up in the front, allowing me to see her hooves. They're small and dainty, but walk steady and firm. The fur on her body is a light brown. Am I inside the mind of the queen? It's a possibility. I'm pretty sure this person is a deer. She continues to scan the area, leaning over to look behind bushes. Where are you? She speaks in a soft, chiding manner, and it feels strange having this voice feel as if it's coming from my mouth. I don't think I'll get used to that anytime soon. She looks up into a tree, and through the leaves I can see someone. It's a young fawn. He's perched in the tree, looking down at her with a smiling face. There's no antlers on his head, and his cheeks are covered in little spots. His eyes are big, and his pupils shine like amber. It's Adrius. He's very young though, about 6 or 7. His clothes are nice, and the shirt seems to be a size too big. He lets out a giggle, and his tense body relaxes. It's as if he thought that he couldn't be seen if he was absolutely still. This is also most definitely his mother. She crosses her arms, and I can feel the smile curling on her lips. Found you. That's not fair. His voice is high in pitch, but soft. Oh, and why is that? He goes to point at her, but quickly brings his arm back to the tree limb he's holding onto. You were peeking! She laughs a sweet and happy laugh while shrugging her shoulders. Was not. I just got lucky. Ha ha ha. He says this with an exaggerated attempt at sarcasm. You have to admit, it took me quite a while. She leans against the tree he's in. Yeah, it did take you a long time. I almost starved. He says this in a dramatic way, how a child usually would when exaggerating something. It's honestly surprising seeing him full of so much joy. I assumed he wasn't completely awful, especially as a kid, but it's nice to see him smiling. Closest I've ever gotten to see that was a smirk. Can you hide this time and I seek? She steps away from the tree and nods. Yes, sweetie. You can come down from there now. He looks down and a sliver of fear gleams in his eyes. I can't. You got up there this time without my help. Surely you can get down on your own. He peers over the branch again and shakes his head. No. She lets out a sigh and holds out her arms. Okay, jump down and I'll catch you. From that far away? He shakes his head more. Trust me? He hesitates for a moment and then does a weak leap from the tree. Not before plucking a wildflower from one of the limbs. He lands in her arms and he catches his weight, swinging him around a little before setting him on the ground. Thanks, Mom. The small Adrius hops up and down a bit before running over to someone by one of the garden walls. I immediately recognize who's by the wall. Raynar is tending to a small bed of flowers. He's wearing a cotton shirt and a leather apron. It's covered in dirt and water, but he still looks as regal as ever, with his crown sitting upon his head. If I could feel my own insides right now, they would be twisting up into a knot. Seeing him again sends a rush of sorrow through my mind. But then I sense Elena's emotions. They're warm and fuzzy. Father, did you see it? Raynar probably didn't see it, but he turns around and ruffles his head fur. Of course I saw it, Fuzzball. You weren't even scared, were you? Adrius looks off to the side in an embarrassment. A little bit. Raynar looks down at him with a warm smile. That's okay. The important thing is that you did anyway. I got you this. He holds out his little hand and the crumpled wildflower can be seen laying on it. Wow, look at that. It's even my favorite color. He carefully picks the flower up by the stem and holds it between his fingers. Since it's important, I'll put it up here. He places the flower between his ears, next to his crown. Elena picks up her dress and starts to walk towards them. How do I look? Adrius struggles to hold back laughter. Silly. Yeah, I probably do. Adrius points at a few flowers and Raynar gets a little bit excited and starts to talk about them. He seems much happier and energetic compared to the calm and collected Keen I'm used to. Before the queen can get any closer, my vision starts to fade. All the scenery gets pulled away from my eyes as if it's being carried down a river. I'm back in my cell, sitting exactly where I was before. There's a commotion down the hall and I can barely make out the voices. You get distracted too easily. Shh, I'm trying to listen. I leaned a bit closer to the door, trying to hear better. State your business, please. I'm here to see Lord Richter. It's Leif. Hearing his small voice is more welcoming than I thought it would be. I, wish to speak to him about something. Very well. Do you need help with that? I can hear Leif grunt slightly. No, thank you. I should be able to manage. If I listen closely, I can hear the pitter-patter of his taloned feet echo down the hall as he gets closer and closer. I get up from the floor and go to sit on the end of the bed, by the door. Soon, Leif comes into view, and I can see that he's carrying an old book. Even to me, this book would be large, but for him, it's monstrous. It's bound in leather that's practically falling apart, and some of the pages are falling out of the book, crammed in between other pages. He's holding it in his arms and setting it down with a big thump. Hello. He's looking down at the ground, and I can tell that he's a bit nervous. Hey. What do you want to talk about? Oh. I spoke with Lyre a little while ago. About what? I'll get to that in a minute. You didn't actually kill the king, right? You're seriously asking me if I would kill your king? I just wanted to hear it from you, okay? Okay. You have to admit, it's not really looking to be in your favor. Lyre managed to convince me, but if I still believed you did it, would you blame me? He brings up a good point. We had our chats from time to time, but he had every right to assume that I had done it, given how it happened. No, I wouldn't. Especially given the circumstances and everything that happened. Well, I believe that you weren't the one to do it. There's something wrong with it all. But enough of that. I've been doing a lot of research on those headaches that you've been getting. Along with that weird dream. Ah, yes. This should help. Or not. These books are usually heavily inaccurate and filled with harsh exaggerations. I try to tune Tigrin out as Leif opens a book to the page he had bookmarked. That's good. I still do get headaches from time to time. The constant noise doesn't help. Really? It's so quiet down here, though. Not all the time. Ah, okay. Well, you were saying that you had a full recount of the death of our queen, correct? Yes. Along with the fact that it was from Rainer's perspective. Yes, it was from his perspective. Is there anything that says how to stop the headaches? No, there isn't. But I can stop those for you easily with the right medicine. I found something very interesting, though. I searched in the library for hours and I eventually found this book. It's old and dusty, and they were crammed between some of the other books of the highest shelf. At first, I almost skipped right over it, but I realized that this might have some answers. It's a bit religious, though, so bear with me. Let's hear it then. Okay. You're familiar with the Supreme Being Tigrin? See? All these silly titles they come up with. Somewhat. Our land was named after him, right? Yes, well, they were an ancient god that the people of this land used to worship back when religion was one of the pillars of our society. Their influence was strong for a very long time, but after a while, faith was broken. There are only a few people who still worship them today, and any churches that we would likely have had are most likely crumbling ruins. I've heard that there's one that's still intact. You can visit it somewhere in Dryers. Dryersons are very obsessed with preservation. Leif? Sorry, I always ramble. My point is that they believe that on a very rare occasion, someone would be born with the ability of retrocognition. Yeah? Like seeing the past? Yes. It was said to be a blessing from Tigrin themselves. A way to help living beings guide themselves to a brighter future. It says here that those with this ability can see past events and dreams through the perspective of others with proper training. They can even see these events while conscious, and can sometimes view said events as an outsider. He skims over the pages with his gloved wing. There's not much information on this, though. There's something about witchcraft and other nonsense. Something about a mind's eye. A few mentions of people with the ability to being executed, but nothing is well documented. That's not a correlation, I swear. The ability hasn't shown up in a very long time, though, and seems to be lost in time. Lord Richter, I believe that those dreams that you're having weren't just dreams. It seems that you were having visions. You might just be the next avatar for Tigrin. Hearing him say this lifts a weight off my chest, knowing that I might not be crazy. The weight is immediately put back down, though, once I realize what this could mean. I can't trust anyone with this information right now. If word gets out, it could cause serious problems. You want my advice? Play it off. They're right. Leif, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I've come to the conclusion that it's just a dream. Nothing more. Yes, but isn't it a bit strange? You're a man of science. You really believe I have some magical ability to see into the past? Leif looks at me through his goggles with an impatient gaze. There's something else this old book mentions. It mentioned the fact that any time they look into the past, their eyes change to a different color. He leans in and stares at me with his beady little eyes. That's odd. Your eyes are green. If I recall, they were always that color. Oh, thank God. Thank God indeed. You're welcome for that. I may not be able to do much, but I know what I'm doing. Either that, or it's just pure coincidence that they would be green after that last vision. Maybe you're right. I just thought that I would come down here and entertain you with the idea. Lyle seems skeptical too. Also, here. He hands me a small glass jar full of what looks like pebbles. I'm not supposed to give this to you, but it's my job to make sure that people are healthy. I also trust you. You'd better not take advantage of that fact. I take the vial from him. Thank you. You're welcome. Take one each time you get a headache, and no more than one. Also, hide them. He goes and picks up his book. He's struggling to lift it up, but eventually straddles it in both arms. I'll try to visit again soon. Before he walks off, he turns around. One last thing. Lyle says he loves you. He wishes that he could come down here with you more than anything. He turns around and starts walking away. Bye, Leif. Goodbye, Richter. His footsteps trail off into the distance, and I'm again left alone in silence. The sun is beginning to set over the mountains, and I feel a chill rush over my body. My clothes are damp and cold, so I had to take off the bulk of them. It's better to wear as little clothing as possible when they're wet like this. I pick up my coat and hang it on the bars of the cell door. After spreading it out to dry easier, I sit down on my bed and lean back. Staring at the ceiling, I try to concentrate and gather myself. Soon everything fades into nothing. Then the swirling colors flow into my vision. The ground rebels beneath my feet like a rushing current. Tigrin, however, is nowhere to be found. Can you come out? I'd rather talk with you face to face. The large chimera god appears before me in a shimmering flash. The bright green flames dance off of their fur and float up into the air. You don't trust the bird. I don't trust anyone right now. Not with this, at least. I was going to tell Lyle, but that won't be happening anytime soon. They make a reassuring gesture with their hand. I, for one, believe that you are wise not to trust anyone with this. For now, it is best to keep it to yourself. Do you think he suspects it anyway? I know whether he suspects it or not. But, for your amusement, I'll pretend that I have no outside knowledge. I think he might suspect you're my avatar. They say this like they're walking on eggshells. So he does. He does a deep, grumbling sigh. Get some rest. You've done enough practice for today. Was he right about the persecutions and all that? You have the ability to find out for yourself. But you'll have to try later. Please try to sleep. You need the energy. Fine. Leaving is much easier than when I arrived, and before I know it, I'm back in the cell. I lay down onto the bed and spread out, gathering the rest of my body as close to myself as possible to keep warm. Closing my eyes, my exhausted body relaxes and I drift off into a deep sleep, thinking about all the things I've seen in the past, memories today. Hopefully, they'll be of some use. I just need to practice. To be continued. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so that was the current update of Lyre. I'm not sure if I'll separate it into two parts or if it'll just be one part. But yeah, so what do you guys think? So it's kind of nice to see that Richter is using his, or is able to use his powers a little bit better, but he still can't look at the closest past, I guess, or more recent events should be the proper thing. But yeah. Um, Also, it's very expected of Andreas to be acting like a little shit still, because I mean he is the king shit now, so now he gets to act like it with everyone, regardless of their station. And I would hope that what's her face? I already forgot her name. Uh, the female war advisor person can sort of curb that a little. Um, Unless she's the one that killed the king and she's just sort of gonna be playing the new king as a puppet. But anyways, but yeah. Also, poor Lyle. He just wanted to see his human, his top. Also, it's hold on. Oh, tab. Pause. Okay, I have to make this short because I have company. So, okay, so what was I saying? Poor Lyle didn't get to see his human, but at least he got Leif to give Richter a message, saying like, "Oh, I love you, I miss you, blah 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 blah." Blah. Also, it's pretty obvious that Leif knows that you know, that Richter is probably the Avatar, the last Airbender. Um, so he's probably gonna try to confirm that. Maybe it would be hilarious if he like does this whole bunch of elaborate things to try to confirm it. But yeah, if Leif is to be trusted, it would be good to at least have the little, a little doctor, a little crow, you know, in on it. But yeah. So, anyways, what did you guys think? Are you excited to see Lyre back again? Well, more so Lyle. But yeah. Obviously, I recorded this the day it came out on as a public thingy because I know you guys. I know somebody today or maybe even tomorrow is gonna go. Oh, Lyre is the new public update is out. Are you gonna record it? Are you gonna record it? When's the video for Lyre gonna come out? Because you guys just cannot help yourselves, huh? I'm not saying it's annoying, but it's annoying. But anyways, so yeah, thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play a Lyre yourself, you can find it over on itch, and you can find a direct link to it from the creator's Twitter page, which I will link down in the description. And if you would like to support them on Patreon, I will also link down in the description the Patreon link, which you can actually see here on the page on the bottom. And that will net you early access to, builds of Lyre. So you'll have it before I do, and you'll see it before I ever put it on YouTube. So yeah. So I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.